Hi everyone, my name is Julie Sebi. I write the Analytics Corner blog that focuses on data engineering, analytics, and visualization with Alteryx and Spotfire. You can find my site at the URL shown on the screen. Please click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel and be notified of all future content. A few months ago, I started a series on learning the Spotfire expression language. I covered the basics of calculations, keywords, node navigation, and a handful of functions. Now it's time to move on to access names. If you've been wondering how you can take your intermediate Spotfire skills to advanced, this is definitely it. Access names are incredibly powerful, although not very intuitive, and there are a lot of them to learn. This video will introduce the Spotfire access names and their syntax. Detailed examples of all of the access names will follow in subsequent posts. To begin, let's make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what an access is and also what an access name is. So I'm going to go to my next page. Now, most likely when you think of the term axis, you think of the X or Y axis of a visualization, such as those shown on this scatter plot. That's correct, but it's incomplete. Spotfire uses the term axis to refer to any point or place on a visualization where you can place data. And there's actually quite a lot of those. In this scatter plot, that includes your color by selector, marker by, shape by, size by, in addition to your X and Y axis. Basically, everything you see highlighted right now is an axis. And when writing custom expressions, you may want to refer to an axis from the visualization in the expression. The axis name is how you do that. The axis name is essentially the syntax to reference the axis itself. So let's talk examples. If I've counted correctly, there are 19 different axis names that can be applied to the 14 visualizations available to you in Spotfire, although some axis names are only meant for use with rules or reference lines. And axis names are specific to certain visualizations. The TIBCO website has documentation on which names apply to which visualizations. I have that up and I'll just drag it over. And they have this handy dandy little chart that shows which axis names can be used in given visualizations. And you can find the link to this in the blog post itself. Now, why would we use axis names? There are two very good reasons to use axis names, and the first being that they incorporate filtering. As I mentioned in the first post in this series, there are three ways that you can write calculations in Spotfire: in a transformation, with a calculated column, or a custom expression on the axis of a visualization. And those first two options will always calculate on the entire data set. They will not account for filtering. But that third option of writing an expression on the axis will account for filtering. And that is one of the reasons why you want to learn to use and work with axis names. Now let me show you an example of what I mean by the fact that it incorporates filtering. In this page, I have a table and a bar chart. In my table, I have calculated the sum of oil production. Because Spotfire calculates down columns, this returns one value that repeats, but that's not really what I wanted to show you. This amount represents the sum of all oil production for the entire data set. And so I want to demonstrate that if I filter on the field, that number doesn't change. That number will always be the same no matter what happens to my filtering. Now, in the bar chart, this is where I've essentially written an expression on the axis. And that's why whenever I click on the field or my field filter, the values update and the chart updates. And again, this is a very simple example, but it won't take very much before you're past simple expressions and need to write more complex expressions, which is a good segue to axis name syntax. So let's go to my next page. Now, all axis names are referred to as axis.axisName. And within the syntax, you'll see that axis.axisName is put in square brackets, the same way that a column name is. And in this example, I'm using axis.x. Other examples include axis.color, axis.columns, or axis.rows. Now, the top visualization shows my raw data. And in the bottom bar chart, I've created an expression that is going to subtract the sum of oil production from the current node or current month from the sum of oil production from the previous node or the previous month. And so the value that you see here, the 41,000, is the difference between 203 and 161,000. And that expression is going to be dynamic and responsive. If I filter, it'll respond to the filtering. And also, the second reason why you would want to use axis names is that you can actually change what's on the axis. So I've created two hierarchies in this data set. One is year, quarter, month, and the other goes a little bit deeper into weeks and days. And if I change that hierarchy, it doesn't break my expression. It still is going to calculate the difference between the current node and the previous node. So now you understand what axis names are, and I hope you're ready to learn about them, because in the coming weeks I'll be posting examples of how to use all the different axis names. Most of them I'm very familiar with, others will be a learning experience for me as well. If you want to catch up on any of the other posts in this series, all of the links are in the original post. Thanks for watching the video, and please subscribe to my channel.